a king and what constitutes a kingship? This passage of conversation between Jesus and Pilate revolved around this very issue. The narrative begins in verse 33, when Pilate summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate had experienced much unease with the relationship with the Jews. On more than one occasion, they had complained to the emperor about him. In questioning Jesus, Pilate referred his own fear about the Jewish uprising. In typical fashion, Jesus answered Pilate's question with a question. In effort, he became an examiner. Pilate became the one being interrogated. Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me? In his answer, I am not a Jew, am I? Pilate directed himself from and always distanced himself from the Jews and who he governed. He reminded Jesus that it is his own people who had handed it over to him. Instead of answering Jesus' question, he asked another, "What have you done?" Throughout his ministry, Jesus had been seeking to dispel the popular notion that he was not a political ruler who will free the Jews from the Roman oppression. In Jesus' answer to Pilate, he showed again that his kingdom is not of a political realm or a social one, but a spiritual and eternal one. In describing his kingship and realm, Jesus stated that it is from God, not a ruler locally from Jerusalem. Jesus reminded Pilate that if his kingdom were a political one, well, he would have had servants and legal counsel right there at his hand to free him. No such person appeared on Jesus' behalf. In verse 37, Pilate again asked, "So you are a king?" Again, Jesus did not directly answer the question. Instead, Jesus tells Pilate what his purpose was to testify to the true knowledge of God. Jesus then added that everyone who belongs to the truth or to God listen to his voice. Implicating is that Pilate, who is not listening to what Jesus is trying to say, does not belong. Again, Pilate missed the point. Changing the subject, Pilate asked Jesus, "What is truth?" Throughout the rest of his encounter with Jesus, Pilate continued to question Jesus without ever getting to the heart of who Jesus is or about the true nature of Jesus' kingship. Although Pilate found no reason to condemn Jesus to death, he ultimately caves in to the jeering crowd and to sacrifice Jesus in order to, well, like most politicians, keep the peace and protect himself. The question is, where do we find ourselves in this story? Too often we are Pilate. Although we are curious and perhaps even want to know the answer to the questions, are you a king? Perhaps we are afraid of what it will mean to follow such a king. Perhaps we know what it will mean, and we consciously choose not to follow the command to have the mind of Christ and willingly lay down our own lives? Perhaps like Pilate, we cave into the pressures of keeping the peace to protect ourselves rather than doing what we know to be right. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, calls us to the still waters and the overflowing banquet table. However, we, like Christ, may have to walk through the darkest values to get there. Time is like a river. You cannot touch the same water twice, because the flow that has passed will never pass again. Enjoying every moment of your life, because that's how life is. The Greek says, be wise and know yourself. The Roman says, be strong and discipline yourself. Judaism says, be holy and conform yourself. Educators say, be resourceful and expand yourself. And it goes on and on. On and on. The quiet person. No wonder people are confused. Pick any thought dish from the smorgasbord of human philosophy, then dig in completely. And you will find yourself suffering from the worst case of indigestion you can imagine. It may smell good and even satisfy your tongue, but during the time you are consuming it, but it will leave you hungry, unease, searching for something else to satisfy. Romay words often intrigued my thinking as he pondered the plight of men and women searching today. It is an old and an ironic habit of human beings to run faster when we think we lost our way. So it is. We cross the years of my desk as a pastor, watching changes that observe the living example of someone still searching, still running to find inner satisfaction. I've seen a lot of it. Step out in front of your house or apartment, and then, when the morning starts, look both ways. Listen to the roar of automobiles. Study the dwellings surrounding you. Those sights and sounds represent people who have, like little Bo Peep, sheep. They've lost their way. Tragedy upon tragedy. They don't know where to find it. Many of them have tried to be religious, live the golden rule, and, take a rope and knot it up and hang on. Be sincere, but they still running blind, bored and baffled. They attempt to fill the inner vacuum with everything but the only thing. You name it, and you probably tried it. As Henry Thoreau declared, the mass of people lead lives of quiet despair. Ron Integrave, a bold and brilliant agnostic, spent many of his life oppressing, attacking the scriptures, and Christ claims. On his deathbed, he ended his race. He uttered, "Life is narrow, a narrow vein between the cold and the barren peaks of two entities. One strive, the vein is looking beyond the height. We cry aloud, and the only answer is the answer of our wailing cries." He pursued desires that I've heard about, reading about him, remind me of a bumper sticker I saw on a car one time. "Don't follow me, I'm lost." Pontius Pilate, the Jewish and Judea notorious governor, stood eyeball to eyeball with Jesus of Nazareth in the judicial process of interrogation. He heard Jesus refer to everyone who is of the truth, to which Pilate replied, "What is the truth?" That question hangs heavy on the thin wire of reason in many of the minds of this very hour. Pilate never waited for an answer. He just whisked away, confused and disgusted. He should have stopped running and waited for an answer. Jesus could have told him that he alone had satisfying words of life, for he alone is the way, the truth, and the life. Christianity is not a system of human philosophy, nor a religious rite, nor a code of moral ethics. It is the imparting of divine life through Christ. Apart from the way, there is no going. Apart from the truth, there is no knowing. Apart from life, there is no living. God said, "Be in Christ and rest yourself," because he loves you. Amen.